Welcome any and everybody to the Vaguely Familiar podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed, and with me, as always, my partner in crime and co-host
Bashar.
Today we have a very special podcast for you guys. We talked to the wonderful Usama Khalid, brother of former guest on the Vaguely Familiar podcast, Daim Khalid. How was the conversation? Did you like it?
It was great. It was fantastic. It was great to speak to somebody, a fellow creator
Yes.
within the Pakistani Canadian community,
Yeah.
and got to learn so much about his craft, how he goes about it, and how far he's come.
His life in Canada was quite hard in the beginning, judging by his name, and he went on about that. And I feel like that moment where we talked about the differences in the high school experiences that we had, I was moved. That was a very powerful moment, and I'm glad that Osama shared that with us. I hope you guys liked this podcast. It was a delight to do. He came over all the way from Cambridge, was it? Cambridge, Ontario.
Kitchener.
Kitchener, Ontario. My bad. I apologize. Yeah, it was just great, and I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys stay through the entire thing. It's a bit long, this one is, but it's totally worth it.
I agree.
Yeah. Cheers. The problem that we have been facing is that our
Should I start?
yeah, go ahead. The problem that we've been facing initially is that our audience is so diverse in the sense that we have audience people that are here in North America, and then there's people in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and then so we mostly have a debate on who do we cater to.
Yeah.
Are we trying to talk to the people in Pakistan, or are we trying to talk to the people here? Are we
Mhm.
trying to talk to both of them at the same time? And we sometimes get into heated debates about that.
Yeah, because people say to have a successful podcast, you need
Mhm.
to cater to a niche.
But
But
too much Gary Vee. You listen to too much Gary Vee.
okay, but on our podcast, we talk about different things like music, movies, cricket, and we have guests on occasionally as well.
Yeah.
So it becomes a bit hard. And I look at it from the algorithm's perspective. If it's trying to push our content, where would it push it to? To the cricket audience, to the music audience, to the movies, and so that's what we have debates about.
He's a slave to the algorithm. Eh?
Algorithm is key.
Bro, it's a hassle. It's a massive hassle. I couldn't get views and whatnot on my stories until I don't know 4 years into developing my account. It was
Yeah.
it was very dry before then. But now I post a reel and it just goes everywhere for some reason. I don't
Your
know
reels
how.
are doing really well.
I don't know how.
For
I
research.
do absolutely nothing. And I just
again for research we looked at it.
Yeah.
And we have one reel that's 90,000.
yeah,
One's 25,000.
that's very alien to me.
Yeah.
Every time I go to my old summer a reel I posted in summer,
Yeah.
probably the one that you're talking
Yeah.
about, and I look at if it's someone sharing it, it goes view reshares, and it's still on someone's story somewhere
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah. It's because
it's weird how it's surviving, and
the thing
yeah.
is, I think the reels and TikTok algorithm has really democratized the way that
Yeah.
you view content.
yeah,
because if it's good content,
Mhm.
people will want to
it
click on
doesn't
it and
matter
stay on
when
it.
it was uploaded.
Yeah.
It'll
It'll
come
keep-
to your page
it'll keep
somehow.
going, yeah. Just speak a little bit closer into the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, you can pull it as much as you want. Yeah,
Cool.
and you can just because I can see the waveforms and
I see.
so we're rolling, by the way.
Oh,
So
cool.
this is how we get into it. We have an intro before
Gotcha.
you.
Y'all
so
are slick.
Yeah.
Y'all are slick.
we just make it happen. Him and I talked a lot in the car ride here because it was an hour-long car ride and it was so much traffic. I think we were talking about how we
Yeah.
almost had our own podcast there.
Okay.
But if you have any questions, I told him it's fine. We can repeat. It's all good.
Yeah, no, we had Daim on the pod earlier.
Yeah.
And now we have you. So let me know when your third brother's back from Pakistan. We'll get all three.
Don't kill me.
That's gonna be I feel like we should finish the trifecta like that.
Yeah.
Is he any way artistically inclined? We will get him.
He is creative, but in his own way.
Yeah,
He's definitely not in the same videography or photography field, but he loves to flex that muscle.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's just in our blood,
Yeah.
in our family, because it's all around us. He's inspired by he may be inspired by me and Daim, or whoever he looks up to.
Yeah.
And he definitely does. He loves drawing.
Yeah.
He has his own little sketchbook. He does graffiti art. He's very into that. He has a lot of interest, and he just needs that direction.
There's
I think.
so many different ways to express your art.
Oh yeah, it's
So
insane.
many
It's
different ways.
insane.
Like, I
Like
remember-
he specifically made me realize like, whoa, this
Yeah.
this is not something I would dabble in, but I respect it a lot. You know?
You know what? One art form that I totally took for granted as not an art form at all is
Mhm.
gaming.
Ah, yeah,
Like
big time.
the way
big time.
people move in first, like COD
it's
and all that.
crazy. Yeah,
Like you do a lot of gaming as well, and
I do,
And
I do, yeah.
I'm sometimes streaming
Yeah.
your streams,
yeah.
and I'm like the way people are moving.
I love it. I love
I'm
it.
like that's an art form
Yeah.
itself. The way that you know how to like duck
Yeah.
and cover and know
There's
when
a
to shoot
there's a
and not
whole
shoot.
project on my online portfolio like on video game photography.
Yeah.
like it's like just screen captures. Like I use the print screen button
Yeah,
and like of like the just like beautiful moments I caught in the game, and I just posted them in my portfolio saying like I took these pictures, which I did.
which you did.
But they were
Technically.
in the game, you know, like
So, what's your preference for first person shooter games?
they're fun. they're good. They're good thing to get your minds off. Like I play Halo.
Yeah.
It just came out recently.
Oh, the new Halo.
The
Yeah,
Halo
I
Infinite.
saw one of the who's the YouTuber? I think Sarah Dici was playing it.
I see. Yeah.
I like
So
Sarah
I posted some like some stuff on my Instagram and Twitter, just just like of me playing it, and it's more of a nostalgic thing. Like when I came to Canada, that was like the first game I played,
Yeah.
Halo. And we were really into it, and now this new one came, and it's just like
Where do you play? Are you a PC gamer?
PC, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
PC.
That's why you're not letting go of your PC. 'Cause we
Yeah.
talked off camera about how he literally owns every Apple product except the Mac. I was like, why don't you have a Mac yet?
But like I built
Oh,
this
yeah.
PC too, right? I
Yeah.
like from scratch, and I
That's your
there's an
baby.
attachment. Yeah,
There's too
so
many sentiments attached.
exactly. It's like it's probably like my biggest investment right now,
Yeah.
right? And I know I have to like sell it and then like invest in that MacBook or whatever.
The thing is, you have such a unique style of
Mhm.
expressing your art,
Mhm.
and we were just talking about this when we were researching you, and he was very surprised, and I was like, "Oh yeah, we did your research." He's like, "You researched me? Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, we researched all our guests." So we basically went through your portfolio, and
Yeah.
I was telling him how amazing his animations are, like his Pakistan animations, where you added your
Yeah.
flair to it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how that started?
Oh,
Because that's such a unique
Yeah.
thing to your art
yeah.
and the way that you express yourself that I
Mhm.
don't think I've seen people do it in that style
Uh-huh.
anywhere else. So please tell me how you do it.
Okay. So
Tell me your
well,
secrets.
so Daim and I were sitting, and we had this Pakistan trip planned, and he was there for like work, and then
Yeah.
like I was gonna go there just to like I hadn't visited in a while, and I had some free time. Went there for a month for a cousin's wedding.
Of course.
Always
That's
has
always
to be a
the
wedding.
case.
But it ended up being like I had much more free time to myself, and we
Yeah.
actually got to explore.
Yeah.
But before that, like we had a plan to like like I want to take some pictures, but I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't want them to just be like pictures I took in Pakistan or like portraits of people. I wanted like some like something that would show my identity in those pictures,
Yeah,
like what I
100%.
knew as a Canadian but also Pakistani, and like my upbringing with like manga and anime being central to my childhood and still is to this day.
Yeah.
And he had the amazing idea of like mixing it, like putting like in very minimal like not in a way where it just takes it over,
Yeah.
but in a very like subtle way to like give an ode to a certain certain reference from a manga.
Yeah.
And we actually wrote notes down. Like we actually like wrote like he gave me most of these ideas. Like
Yeah.
this is mostly Daim's creative direction. I basically executed it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's how team works, man.
it's crazy.
I
It's
like
crazy.
how you're giving him credit.
No, it's insane. Like how much like he was the one that like gave the idea to me, and I basically built upon it. Right.
Yeah.
So we basically like were brainstorming like back and forth, and we were like thinking of situations, and he'd be like, what about like a little kid in like Naruto's 9 cloaked,
Oh,
like
wow.
like 10 like
Yeah,
pale cloak, right? And that ended up being a picture that
Yeah.
I actually did. And there was another one where we had of like Aokiji.
Yeah.
I found like this old man riding a bike, and it was just so like it just like perfect resemblance of the character from the manga.
Yeah.
And I was like, this hit, but it took me months to make that.
Really?
Like, there's so many reiterations. That was from part 2, by the way. But like I started it.
Yeah.
It's sat in my drive for a while, and every couple of weeks I'd go to it, try to make it work.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. It just like it wasn't working. I wasn't satisfied with it.
Yeah.
It was too like either too much or too little. Until I found that middle ground after like 6 months of holding on to it and then like working on the rest of the series.
I feel like that's exactly how I write poetry, man.
Yeah.
It's like you have to go back and revisit. And
Like,
then
you have
rewrite.
to.
Yeah.
Like the best advice I ever got about writing was write, keep
Mhm.
it in a drawer for 2 weeks, and then
Yeah,
open it again.
exactly. Because when you give that
Fresh
space,
eyes.
that time, it like you're looking at it in a new perspective.
Yeah, you let it marinate for a
There's
bit.
that quote
Definitely.
where it's to write is to be human, to edit is to be divine.
Yeah, that's true,
a
man.
nice quote.
And it's that's
Proper.
Stephen King right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane because even though our art forms are so completely different, but they're at the core. The spirit is so like it's the same thing.
Yeah,
It comes,
exactly.
It's cut from the same cloth.
Exactly.
And that's so wonderful to me.
Yeah.
Like because that's how I started to get to know your art.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this is insane what he's doing. Like I followed you before that. And then we went on the creator walk we talked about.
Yeah.
The YYZ creator walk. I think I told you about this.
Yes.
And he was the one who's spearheading it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Good times.
we went through I think I went to the one that was in Chinatown.
Yeah.
And I met so many creative people, man. And the best thing about it was that they were mostly like colored, like
Exactly.
people that resembled
Exactly.
us.
Yeah.
And you hardly see that. Like even on the
mhm.
YouTubes, you see the Peter McKinnons and the
Yeah.
Casey
And that
Neistats.
was the goal, right? Like you wanted like people that look like us to show
Yeah.
up for like this type of thing. You know, it's
Yeah.
not something in STEM or like a workshop or networking event. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be very like
It was
like, close.
very wholesome, and like
Yeah.
I was struggling because I bought my camera that summer.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling with like exposure.
I actually remember you like
Yeah.
like how you were like working. I'm like, huh, like we have like really like new like they actually want to learn and like
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
one of them. And I actually like that was probably like the highlights of these walks that I was able to like give like just the basic knowledge for me.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't know about it. So like just like being able to share that was like such a gem.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I took that skills all the way. We went to London. We went to Edinburgh. I
Mhm,
told you about like
mhm.
everywhere I've been. I've taken those skills and applied
Yeah.
it to different forms of art and taken
Yeah.
different photos. So like
Mhm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my next question is: when the pandemic is sort of gone, do you plan on resuming it?
I do have plan,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to go about it right now.
Yeah.
The intention is to bring it back. It's not dead. I do want to keep it going because it's something that I started and I hold dear to my heart.
Yeah.
I started with 3 other friends of mine. They're very talented photographers. And we just have to like have a conversation who's willing to keep going and
Yeah.
whatnot. But like, I really want to keep it going, but also change it up because
Yeah.
because when we had it, it was amazing. But the more we started doing it, there was our mission kind of became all blurry, and we
Yeah.
kind of lost our focus, and it became something that I didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
But now that's why in this hiatus, I've been trying to figure out a way where I can bring its soul back,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah. I think it was a really great initiative. Like I met so many wonderful people there, and I would love to see it come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it happens again, we're there.
We're there.
Yeah.
Like I've been telling him so many times that he should like try to get into photography as well.
Yeah.
Because once you start seeing the world through the lens
Oh,
of
yeah.
viewfinder, you find compositions and
The
leading
smallest
lines,
little things,
and everything becomes so much more. I mean, this is very poetic, but it becomes so much more prettier.
It's
'Cause
romantic. It's romantic.
When we moved into this house, I looked at the windows outside and
Yeah.
I started looking at how the lines
Mhm.
bisect each other, and like I could photograph from here.
Yeah.
I could take a sunset picture there, and like it becomes like that. You see the world in a very different view.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like that was one of those things that physically like changed my life. So I wanted to thank you personally on that.
No worries.
Do you think your
Appreciate that.
Photoshop skills are part of the photography skills that you guys have? One of my cousins, he also had a photography page,
Mhm.
and he would kind of give my brother a bad look every time that he would mention that
I edit my
the pictures
pictures.
are good,
Ah.
but
He's a
the
purist.
I see.
editing is where the actual
Yeah.
work happens.
Yeah, yeah.
What is your opinion on that?
I'm a more of a 50-50. I believe it's the actual performing of taking a picture, the composition that that what's going in your head when you're taking a picture. That is it's what's the foundation. It's the soul of the picture. What can actually accelerate it or like help, I don't know,
Elevate it.
elevate it to its best potential is where editing comes from. And that's where how I like to keep it. I have practiced that no editing, 100%, with my film photography.
Yes.
But that in itself is like you have to keep it. Well, you can't edit film photography. That's just preposterous. You don't do that.
Yeah.
That's a rule. But with digital, it's you have more leeway. It's not limited. You're not constrained to a certain amount of frames per roll of a film. You can take 10 pictures in a second, and one of those pictures can be like that key frame that you can bring into a masterpiece.
What do you enjoy more, digital or film?
Ugh.
It's a difficult
I
one.
have love for both, but I genuinely have enjoy photography more in with film.
Yeah, I think I
Mostly
relate.
because of how much thought I have to have when taking a picture, and before I even press that button, like I have to know like how I'm gonna crop this picture, how I'm gonna compose it. And with digital, I'm like I can just like edit this post and just like I don't know somehow like add two different pictures together and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mess with it
There's so
basically.
many times where you take digital pictures and you don't even use like 70% of the
Yeah,
picture. You zoom
exactly.
in, you take this one
Exactly.
part, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I
With
agree with
film,
you.
it's just you're just laying your view out there,
Yeah.
and I love that.
What film camera are you rocking?
I use a Pentax SP 1000. That was
Great.
my first film camera.
That's amazing.
I found it in a little thrift store for
Yeah.
$45.
Oh, that's a steal.
Yeah, with the lens too.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing. And it works and everything.
yeah, it was perfectly mechanical, and it's not electronic, so it's
Yeah.
fully mechanical, so no batteries, nothing. It's my baby.
Yeah, of course.
I haven't
You
been
don't
able
ever
to use
lose
it in a
that.
while.
Yeah.
Mostly because of like income. Film photography is expensive,
Very expensive.
and COVID.
Yeah.
Nothing
Where do you go to
happening.
shoot?
Nothing
Yeah.
happening.
Earlier in
yeah.
the car, we were talking about how he was actually an English lit major for a long time. Do you want to touch upon that a bit?
His life goals.
Yeah.
I told him. Do you want to touch upon that? How was your
I
experience?
went with the John Green route. I did touch upon this, but yeah, it was fun to a certain point. I really did enjoy first year of uni as an English and literature major. It was like I was reading. That was my studies. I was reading
Quick
19th century
question.
literature.
I'm gonna break you
Go
off.
for it.
What made you go into it, and how was your dad okay with it?
Okay. So all through high school, I was part of this fan fiction website, and it was for a manga. And I was basically part of this. We were part of this universe, and I had this character that I developed when I joined the website. And the point is, you take this character, and you write posts like in prose, collaborating with other characters on the website,
That's amazing.
and just creating your own world through it, right?
Yeah.
So I had friends online before Instagram and whatnot, and I would be on this website every day. And I'm a
Basically, the metaverse.
The metaverse.
basically I was a massive like 100% introvert. I barely hung out with my friends from high school because I barely had any. I was a homebody, I'd stay home. I'd come from home from school, and I'd go straight to the computer. And Daim found this so odd. Like this
Yeah.
website, like, what is the website he's always on?
Yeah.
I remember like my cousin was over and they were like reading over my posts, and they were like, "What the heck is this? Like I
Yeah.
don't get it. Like I don't get it." I'm like, "You wouldn't get it."
You're not supposed to get it.
But it's funny because like I built this character for 4 years. Like
Yeah.
he's like when you're starting, you join the site, you make this character. He has a like a magic. He
Yeah.
has a history. He has like an origin story, right?
Yeah.
And you continue his story from there on out. So I had this character for 4 years, and throughout those years, he slowly became like one of the most powerful characters on the website
Yeah.
because of the time I put into it, and
course.
like just there's a lot of like fighting in
Yeah.
terms of like battle
Yeah.
scenes and whatnot. But it taught me a lot in terms of writing. Like most of my like writing experience comes from there. That's 4 years of everyday writing.
Yeah.
Posts. And when I say like posts, I'm talking about like it'd be strict because for these like characters there'd be like limits, like there'd be word limits that you'd have to reach. Like say I'm going on a mission with this character. I'm like going on like a little rescue mission for like a kidnapping.
Yeah.
To achieve that mission, you have to write at least 1,500 words.
Wow.
And you have to basically write a whole story, like, oh, hey, he woke up, like he went to this town, he talked to this sheriff. It's all in dialogue, all in prose,
so like
narrated.
it's basically like
short stories.
writing prompts, and then you write a short story.
Exactly. And
so cool.
but that's just one mission, and I
Yeah.
did hundreds and
Yeah,
hundreds
yeah.
and hundreds. If I could like get all the writing from that high school website together, it would probably be like a proper huge novel, like 500
talking
page novel.
like some Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
level.
exactly.
About writers, they say that every writer eventually, or in some way or the other, writes about themselves. So was that character a part of you?
Definitely. Because that's where my experience was, and I was able to take from my own personal experiences and just put that into my character, and it kind of became my online persona.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I made online friends. I was actually, I think after 2 years on the website, I actually was a moderator on the website,
Oh,
and that's
wow.
where I began to have web management experience, because I was in the back end now, and I was part of the staff team. And when you're on the staff team, you have a Skype group, and when you're on the Skype group, you're actually like talking and like planning out different events on that website. And I actually mentioned this in my interviews too. Like I did this in high school, and I took a lot away from it, and it actually pointed me towards that, design career, and
Yeah.
that where I am now. But yeah, writing like every day in high school, and taking that grade 12 creative writing class, when I was in grade 11.
I love that class.
It was like it's the best thing I ever did, and I was like,
Yeah.
I wanna keep doing this. So
Especially like if the teachers especially in that class are good,
Yeah.
that the lessons you learn from that class stays forever.
English
you know?
teachers, they have a special
Bro.
place in my heart.
We were talking about this, and it's the same thing. I don't know if it's literally how good English teachers
Yeah,
can be,
yeah.
or how much Hollywood has romanticized the English
That's
teacher.
true. Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Cursive being a wallflower,
But I feel
and Edge of 17.
Agreed.
All had like really good English teachers, and you're like, I want one of those.
Yeah. Maybe like you see that, you're like, I want to be that English
Yeah,
teacher,
yeah,
like
for sure, 100%.
But yeah, so first year university, I loved English lit. I would be reading, I doing essays. Second year happens, I'm liking it, but I'm not seeing any like it's redundant. It's the same thing. And basically like I took third year classes in my second year as well, just like see like the levels of difference of like skills, and like if there's any growth in terms of learning, and there wasn't. I just
Yeah.
felt like I reached a cap, and I couldn't like go further from that. So that's why I'm an ex English and literature major, but I ended with the digital media and journalism.
It kind of broke my heart when you told me this.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Because again,
It broke my heart, man.
Because-
I told you, like I
Yeah.
love reading before university, and the thing is, with the course load is like I took 4 to 5 English courses per term, and each class would have at least 3 to 5 novels or like literature to read and write about, and that would be up to like like 15 to 20 pieces of literature per term, and it got too extensive to the point where I wasn't actually reading. I was just looking for like stuff that could like
help you
help
write the
me
essay.
help my argument, my thesis,
Yeah.
like critical reading.
Right.
And it kind of destroyed my love for reading.
Yeah.
And to this day I struggle to finish a book. To this
Wow.
day. Yeah.
See, I feel like he has this alternative reality where he's like, if-
alternative reality.
if I did that,
How
like,
dare you.
there's like this parallel universe where
Yeah.
he did pursue English,
Mhm.
and
I'm Stephen
he,
King.
he thinks he's like a journalist at the Toronto
Yeah,
Star,
yeah.
and he's like, the next Hassan Minhaj
Yeah.
or whatnot. I don't know, the next Khalid Hosseini, who knows?
Mhm.
Why not?
I
Why
mean,
not?
sure, yeah.
I had
feel
that
like
dream
you can
too.
still
but-
do that.
Yeah.
You can still do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when it comes to writing and that type of stuff, you don't need that English degree
Yeah.
unless you're trying to teach.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
That writing isn't a profession; it's a lifestyle,
Yeah.
and that you can be a writer without
Mhm.
being published either. Like that's one of those
Yeah.
things about
Mhm.
art that you don't have to be Khalid Hosseini, like
Exactly.
for name dropping
Exactly.
someone, right? You could be your own self and keep writing
Mhm.
and pursue something else. But it would be amazing if that's all you did and you got paid
Yeah.
for it. Like, that's the dream. But like you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be black and white. That's
Mhm.
what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so because I wanted to talk about the whole storytelling aspect of your art,
Yeah.
your and Daim's as well. But
Mhm.
I'll stick with you right now.
Mhm.
Storytelling is so hard, and yet you make it look so easy sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, because your like we were talking about your animations, even just
uh-huh.
your reels. We were talking
Mhm.
about Sounds of November,
Mhm.
Sounds of Summer,
Yeah.
Sounds of July. One
Yeah.
of those, the one that got really big.
Yeah.
They're all they are is just him taking a trip with his dog, right? Like Sounds of November
Yeah.
is basically
just a walk. Just walk in the
it's
woods.
just a walk.
Yeah.
but there's story to it. I
Mhm.
could, if I wanted to, I could probably break it down into a 3-act structure.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
oh, he takes the dog from here to there.
Yeah.
This is something happens there, something happens there, and then he's back. And then there's
Mhm.
obviously ambiance and
Yeah.
and there's a tone to it,
Yeah.
and there's your touch as well.
Mhm.
But how much do you struggle with storytelling, if at all?
Yeah.
Because I find that when I'm telling my stories through
Mhm.
through lens, through words, storytelling and the way I want to tell it,
Mhm.
it becomes very tiresome to me
Mhm.
sometimes, and I don't know what the best way to get around that is. So
I honestly, I don't think about it much in
it's
terms
natural.
in terms of storytelling. It's just very like I try to like go with the flow.
yeah,
In terms of like when I say like I'm on a walk, each time I see like a cool like I just put my camera up, takes like 5 seconds,
yeah,
and then move on until like I see the next cool thing, right? And there's no like thought before. I'm just trying to share my experience, trying to make it most natural. And I feel like if I'm able to deliver that, and someone can, like, get something out of it, get some peace, or get some, like, I don't know, some therapy out of it, I've done my work.
Yeah.
So the priority isn't storytelling; it's just to connect with another person.
Yeah.
And if it's because the thing is, when it comes to storytelling, you can be in charge of a story, but to a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody reads something differently. Everybody like sees something differently, and they're gonna connect with it differently, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be their own story in their own light. And I don't want to impose on that.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I leave that room for them to connect with it emotionally, they can build that story themselves.
Yeah. It's in a vagueness that you can put yourself in
exactly.
it, and you can relate to it. I
Yeah.
think that's so beautiful, man. Like I feel like I struggle with that a lot because
Mhm.
I am trying to dictate a narrative,
Yeah.
and the narrative takes hold
Mhm.
as opposed to
Mhm.
the other way, which the
Yeah.
the reader or the consumer, whoever it is, takes hold of.
Yeah,
the
I think
narrative.
it's there is that it has its place.
Yeah.
When it comes to narrative, but I don't think for what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
it doesn't belong there. But like, say, like with my captions, I'm fully like into that narrative process,
Yeah.
and I want to like make something that people's like, oh, whoa, like this is gonna make me cry, like,
Yeah, imagine the
that's the
feels.
goal. That's the goal. I want them to cry, and yeah.
So who do you look for when you look for, like, who's your creative, like, who do you look up to when you're making your art?
Oof.
Your magnum, well, not your magnum opus, but people you look up to, basically.
Oh man.
Like when I'm writing, I'm looking up to the Khalid Hosseinis of the world,
I see.
Mohsin
I see.
Hamid's, J.K. Rowling, Stephen King's.
I'm trying to remember.
Like your graphic designer god type
The
person.
thing is, like, the goal for me is like, when I started writing, I fell in love with it because I just loved, putting one word with another and then another and another, and then it just like turning out beautiful.
Mhm.
And it did become like more of a storytelling thing, much more than it was. Wow, like I read this and it just sounds beautiful. Like I just love the way like this flows.
Yeah.
And I started writing in that sense. I don't know. I honestly don't know where I took it from. I did read a lot of like just random 19th century literature. When it comes to
Yeah.
poetry, I really connected with Mahmoud Darwish's poems.
Mhm.
I love his writing, and that I think that's the closest I think I can get to someone I'm trying to write like.
Yeah.
In terms of like the way I want to write.
Yeah.
I love the way he like turns, beautiful stories into like, into such simple metaphors and
Yeah.
whatnot.
I love
And
that.
being able to like speak in just simple language, but to be able to also speak that beauty is like the perfect combination.
Yeah. Less is more.
yeah,
That's
agreed.
that's what I've learned as well.
Agreed, yeah.
I read in my early days. Well, not early, I'm only 25, but like when I was a teenager, I read a lot of Hemingway, and he does that really well as well.
Yeah.
He has very simplistic prose,
Agreed.
but the way he makes it sound, like he expands it almost
Yeah.
by how much just his taste in the way that he presents things to the reader. It's beautiful, and I totally relate to that.
Yeah. So the one thing I really like did myself was experimenting with the second person. Because I see first person and third person all the time in literature.
Could you explain what that is?
Yeah. So second person is basically when you're actually writing. You're actually
Talking to a person.
talking to a person in writing. So instead of using I or they, you'd be using you.
Right,
And
to show you. It's
Yeah.
second person.
Yeah.
and so it'd be like I'd be talking to someone
Yeah.
in my captions, and that person would be the reader.
Yes.
And that's why they will instantly feel that connection. Like I say, like you were in the setting, and you were experiencing this, because I'm telling them you're experiencing this. They have no
Yeah.
choice,
Yeah.
and they put their mind in that position.
Did that come from like reading a lot, or how
It-
did you come up with that?
I don't know. I just like I started treating it like a letter to somebody. And it just felt
That's
very
so
like
wild.
I just wanted to be like at first, like it was a letter to you. It was that's how it started.
We were talking about how you were writing in second person.
Are you
Yeah.
writing for someone? Yes.
So
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, like, are you writing that for somebody,
Ooh.
like a set of
do you want
audience?
to take a name right now, Osama?
I want to
set
take a
of
name.
audience that like will find it, or is it like a message in a bottle where whoever finds it?
So the
relates?
first one was to an ex,
Okay,
and
of
it was
course.
heartbreak, and I
Yeah.
just wanted those emotions to go somewhere, and they went where they went. And then I started directing it to basically a message in a bottle. Or there's actually a series I called prayer love letters to God,
Hmm.
and it would basically be me talking to God, but in like second person. And I just feel like even though I'm talking about this, like, this, you know, this whole section, other, like, I'm talking about God, like
Yeah.
but others that may read it, they can interpret it in their own way. And
Yeah.
I feel like the same thing happened with Rumi's work too, right?
Yeah.
Like they're the same exact
exact
effect,
thing, yeah.
because his intent was, faith driven, and just talking about his relationship with God, and that's what I'm doing. But at the same time, you got like high schoolers, or like, like
Yeah.
young folks trying to, compare it to their, like
Meet me in
heartbreak.
the
And,
where what was the out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing. There's a field. I'll meet you there. People have like caption like,
exactly.
those are Instagram captions.
Yeah, they're making it like, this is about like my significant other. No, it's
Yeah.
actually about God. Like,
It's I don't know if you've heard the song "June" by Ali Zafar.
no.
But I think there's a story where someone's saying that he's not talking about his ex or a girl, but he's in fact describing God.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. It's one of my favorite songs.
It's very good. It's Sufi rock.
Oh,
But
I
letters
love
to
that.
God, that's like, it sounds like a very personal like communication you
Yeah.
would have with God.
Yeah.
How are you comfortable with putting that out there for the world to see
Yeah.
and interpret?
I wanted that transparency out there. We don't really get to see it much,
No, we
I
don't.
think, because it's such a one-on-one relationship. I wanted like just a beauty in my, duas or my conversation, because it's just a lot of people can be like, I want this, I want this, I want this.
Yeah.
Beautify it, romanticize those things, because they have a lot of value to them. And I just feel like if I put that out there, and some folks can see that and take away something from it, I think, that's a mission.
I relate
that's the
to that
mission.
so much.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like my mom keeps telling us to, like you said, beautify your prayers. Like
Yeah.
the way you ask God is also an art.
Mhm, mhm.
And if you can like if you're convincing, if you're taking your time with it, if you're precious with it,
yeah,
then the replies that you're seeking will come quicker as well.
Yeah.
I feel
But
like
sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah,
it's so
go ahead.
wild that you were talking about writing your novel in or writing stories in the second person,
Yeah.
is because I've been writing my whole entire novel is in second person as
Oh,
well.
really?
And it's wild
Wow.
that you were saying that.
Yeah.
It's because so in my novel, the character that he's writing to doesn't show up until halfway through
I
the
see. I
novel.
see. Yeah.
So he's basically telling his backstory, and then that character shows up,
That's awesome.
and then he starts talking to her
Yeah.
about it, and then you came here, and then this happened, and then blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the struggle. I've restarted that novel at least 17 times. I've written
know
more
that
than
feeling.
100,000
I know that feeling.
200,000 words for that novel.
Yeah.
And every time I write about that, I get stuck because it's such a hard narrative to
Yeah.
write.
The thing is, it's hard to continue. Second person is
Yes.
hard to sustain.
Yes.
I feel like it's great for short form, but I've always struggled with that, sustaining it into like a whole narrative.
I
When
agree.
it's a caption, it's easy. It's fleeting. But when you have to stick with it,
Yes.
that's where the real work.
So
has to be
that's a
done.
very good thing that you put in
Yeah.
my mind now, that I could try writing short stories in
Yeah.
second person. So what I did now, the draft that I'm writing now is third person.
I see.
Because then
Yeah.
then after second person didn't work for a while,
Mhm.
I was like, I can't do that anymore. So I tried first person, and first person seemed a lot whiny. Like, It
Yeah.
seemed too much whiny.
I see.
Because the character is very flawed,
Yeah.
and he makes a lot of mistakes, and he's really hard on himself. So that can come across as whiny.
Mhm.
So I stayed away from that. Now I'm writing it in third person, and I'm enjoying it a lot more
Okay.
because because it feels like I'm still writing in second person to
Yeah.
that person,
Yeah.
but I'm telling it from my perspective. Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
what I see it.
Exactly.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that you were writing in second person as well, because not a lot of people do that.
Yeah, and I
you
feel
will
like
hardly
it's
read a
very,
novel like
it's
that.
very like overlooked, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's the easiest way someone can connect to a piece of work.
Yeah.
Because you're putting them in the shoes of the main character.
Yeah, you're being talked to.
Exactly,
Basically. It's so
exactly.
insane.
Yeah.
A lot of my poetry, and a lot of poetry I've read is in 2nd person, where they're talking about you and
I love
you
that.
did this and
Yeah.
you did that, and that's when I'm like, oh, okay. So you could do that.
Yeah.
Let's try that with like a novel. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's harder than you think it is. Sorry,
It just makes the connection so much easier, like as a reader.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned how there's a certain set of emotions part of your art,
Mm-hmm.
and I always feel that when I watch any of your videos or any of Daim's movies,
Mm-hmm.
there's an instant sort of emotional connection, and
Yeah.
I resonate with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great.
Appreciate
I
that.
think the other thing that we really wanted to talk to you about was music, because
Yeah.
we gel on a lot of the same genres,
Yeah.
and we were talking about this in the car that a lot of people, again, that look like us don't necessarily listen to that kind of music. Like,
Oh,
what?
you were talking about inspirations for like writing,
Yeah.
and literally like music is my main go-to
Yeah.
when it comes to like thinking of something to write about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Storytelling is music. I totally blanked out on that.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll edit it out. We'll
Yeah.
cut it in. But like, you listen to a lot of. We were just talking about his love for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack, which I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people give credit to Hans Zimmer for,
Yeah.
because it's really, really good. Do you want
Mhm.
to talk about that for a sec?
Yeah, it's genuinely like such a beautiful piece of work, and sure, like the movie gets a lot of hate,
Sure.
but I
And
watched
some of it is rightfully so.
exactly, definitely rightfully so.
Yeah.
But the soundtrack is just beautiful. Not even like the calm ones, like the really like rugged, like like say Electro's theme.
Yeah.
There's just so like it's like perfect for his character. Like
Yep.
there's so much thought behind it, and I love what like Hans Zimmer does in his process for like making soundtracks for movies. He has a lot. He connects it to that story. It's
Yeah.
not just like separate. It's tied to that character, and it's meant for that character.
Yeah.
So that movie dealt with a lot of like I don't know, like a lot of relationship issues, and dealing with a loved one who you love so much, but also can't fully be with because of some responsibility. And I felt really connected with that, and I
Yeah.
felt like Hans Zimmer really really delivered with his with his melodies and piano, and just like that, this whole composition, they tied together so nicely. And it's I just keep it in the background when I'm like writing or like focusing on something.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds like the epitome of every Desi relationship.
Yeah. Oh my God. There we go. But like that movie, like you said, has a lot of things not going for it. But the
Yeah.
thing that whole series had going for it
Mhm.
really well was the chemistry
Yeah,
and the relationship between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most realistic.
the best like I've ever seen in like a
100%
Yeah.
the best superhero
yeah
like relationship that I've ever seen, like you
Mhm.
said. And I think I give it a lot of credit to the director who directed 500 Days of Summer as
Mhm.
well. That's
Mhm.
my guy, man.
yeah
I
That's
love that
my
movie,
guy.
man.
yeah
Right? And because he knows how to deal with relationships.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
you add Hans Zimmer,
Mm.
who's the king of
what a
scoring.
combo what a combo
What a combo.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
But it's not just Hans Zimmer as well. It's Pharrell Williams.
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
Magnificent Seven, and they did amazing work collaborating with
Yeah.
with each other.
Like, if you just put Hans Zimmer on your ears and you start walking out, you feel like you are the
you
main
are in a
character.
movie. You're in a movie
Yeah, and
instantly.
it's yeah, you're part of the movie, and it's like the power that man has
Yeah.
with music. Like, oh man, I wish I
Yeah.
was half as good
His-
at anything else.
His soundtrack in Dune, he did that, right?
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
that
he
sounded
did.
so great.
It's,
Yeah.
it's really good.
I don't know. Personally, like I didn't like it as much as his other work, but
Okay.
because most of it was because it was so rattling and loud in terms of like over the actual talking and whatnot.
Yeah,
But I
feel
think
like-
that's more of a sound mixing issue than it is
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer issue, right?
I've seen that a lot recently. It's ever
Yeah.
since Nolan was like, I'm not gonna make you listen to anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna need subtitles
Even
for Tenet.
Tenet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm tired of these directors wanting us to feel movies. I want to
Yeah.
understand them. Like,
Yeah.
make them audible, please.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
We were talking about how big of a cinephile he is, and
Yeah.
he actually did like Dune, unlike other people in this room.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't like Dune. Ah.
He's
But
like-
I get why you didn't like Dune. I
I-
understand your perspective. Yeah.
I get why he didn't like as well.
I'm
but I was
actually
really
also
upset about
not like a huge sci-fi fantasy sort of
I
fan.
see. I'm a big. I'm very into sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like space
Yeah.
movies are my my
it.
go.
Have you checked out the Wheel of Time show yet?
the real of what?
The Wheel of Time show.
No, I haven't. But it's on my list.
Yeah.
Is it any good?
I
or-
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for someone to recommend it to
I
me to
see,
be
I
like,
see.
okay, all right.
Yeah, I haven't like seen anything like crazy about it. But
Yeah, you know those people, like there's some people in your life that recommend something to you, and you're
Mhm.
like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's some people that are like, yo, you gotta watch. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I take your word
yeah,
for
you,
it.
like you trust them.
I
yeah.
trust you.
Yeah.
I will check it out. I haven't
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
anyone say that yet.
I see.
So I'm
That's
waiting for the
why
right person.
I'm in the same spot.
Yeah. What is your so the pandemic really like halted movies,
yeah.
right? And we barely watched any good ones. Like Tenet
Yeah.
came out during the pandemic, and
Mhm.
you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Mhm.
But like, how do you cope with the lack of movies in the past 18 months? Did you go back and rewatch other ones, or
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
I'm very into like rewatching movies you already watched
Yeah.
because there's always something you can take away into it.
What's
from
a
it.
classic that you always go back to and you're like, this one will not disappoint?
I would say Cloud Atlas.
Oh, really?
Genuinely Cloud Atlas. I know you don't like the movie as much
I don't
as
like
the
the
book.
movie. Yeah.
But I love the book and I love the movie
Yeah.
equally.
Yeah.
And the more I watch the movie, the better it gets. Every time I watch it, every single time, it just gets better and better.
Wow.
I pick out something that I hadn't noticed before, and you just connect with it more and more. And it's one of those movies that I hold dear, but also don't recommend to people because it's not for everybody.
It is flawed.
It's definitely flawed. But you have to understand if you've read that original text and you can complement it with that film, it's perfect.
That's so weird that you said that, because we were walking up and I was like, oh, you have a copy of Cloud Atlas? I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, it's always like, in the bookshelf, and I've checked it out a few times, but I haven't really gotten
But
around to reading it.
I love the formatting, and there's the movie feels like poetry. It really does. Like the way it's like it shows like the generations and like crosses them and whatnot. I just feel like I'm reading poetry when I'm watching that movie.
Because it's the Wachowskis.
Yeah, and
They got
that last like sequence where
Yeah.
the line, I actually watched it with Daim in the theater.
Wow, that's why.
Yeah, and
I didn't see it in the theaters. That would have been a
Oh, I
wild
see, I
experience,
see.
because it's
Yeah.
like, it's so.
I haven't seen it, period.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you. It's like you're on acid. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like you're taking really high octane drugs.
Yeah.
Everything is so bendy.
exactly. It's a stream of,
It's like Doctor Strange before Doctor Strange.
it's called, I think that it's called stream of consciousness.
Ah, yes.
They use that a lot. I don't know if you've watched Speed Racer.
No.
Oof. Oof. It's a messy one, but you have to. It's a very like like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
You have to like. There's an audience for it.
Yeah.
Like
Of course.
and with Speed Racer, it came out. It was the biggest flop of the Wachowskis like ever. But now it's becoming like a very like cult / like favored film because people are realizing, wow, this is actually a masterpiece. And I rewatched it during the pandemic too, and I was like, hold up, this is like way beyond this time. Like
Wow.
the movie came out at the wrong time because
When did it come out?
2006,
Okay, so they had just finished like
2006
the
or
Matrix.
2008, one of those.
Yeah, they had just
but-
finished the
but
Matrix.
Yeah,
The thing with the Wachowskis is that so I listen to a lot of movie podcasts, and I was listening to one recently. I don't know if you listen to John Campea at all.
no.
He's pretty good.
Mhm.
And he was talking about how his point of view was that the Wachowskis have not made a good movie since the first Matrix.
No.
And I'm like,
Cloud Atlas, man. Cloud Atlas.
Well, it wasn't received well, and it
Yeah.
bombed the box office
Yeah.
too. But like, and I didn't like it. The last time I remember watching it, I remember not liking it.
see.
But you know what? I will give it a shot again
Give it a go.
because
again.
it has Halle Berry
Definitely.
and Tom
Watch it
Hanks.
together.
Yeah, we'll watch it
They're
together.
so good. They're so good. But like that last line in the movie, it really connected with me because like when I read it in the book, I was like,
Spoiler
whoa,
alert.
I love this. but he basically says like, you will amount to nothing but a drop in a limitless ocean. And the dude replies to him, he's like, but what is a drop? But what is an ocean but a multitude of drops?
Wow.
And that just hit. That just hit me
Wow.
because I was like, whoa, this is like, it translated what I read in the book perfectly. And also the acting was brilliant in that scene, and just
Tom
instant
Hanks at his
connection.
peak, man.
Yeah.
I was listening to again another Tom Hanks podcast where he talked about how much fun that movie was for him to shoot.
Yeah.
And he was like, "That's his top 3 favorite."
His
movies.
erratic character from like I don't know the future, but like the one who's like addicted to drugs or something like that.
I vaguely remember.
That was such a fun character to watch. It was such an odd character to see Tom Hanks in because he always goes for that perfect, like he's that
Likeable.
role model type
Yeah.
of like likable
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
character. But seeing him in that like villainy like role
That's
is
the
hilarious.
thing. Name a Tom Hanks movie where he was a villain in.
Like I can't think of one. Like Forrest Gump, The Terminal,
Catch me if you can,
Saving-
because I was routing for Leo to not
Don't-
Stop.
stop.
even still, he was still the good guy because
Yeah.
you felt for the guy.
Mhm.
You were like, man, he's trying to just do his job.
Yeah.
And this Leo character is
He
slipping through
always
his
goes for
fingers.
that like even a message for the king, like same vibe. But
It's like it's very hard to not
Sully,
like him.
Captain Phillips. He
Yeah.
always plays the victim. that
Exactly.
people wanna root
Exactly.
for,
Name
yeah.
a villain role
Yeah.
that Tom Hanks was in. It's very hard
Yeah.
for you to do that because he started with rom coms in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, and then he moved into
Well,
more
if you
serious dramas.
think Buzz Lightyear is a villain.
But like Woody, he was Woody though.
Oh, he was.
He was Woody. It was,
You're right.
Mel,
If you
there
think-
are arguments that
True,
Woody
true.
might be the villain.
Nah,
There's like
that's-
literally
I've seen that theory.
those video essays on YouTube are literally making bank on
Yeah.
the fact that Woody might be
Toy
a
Story,
psychopath.
but if Woody was
a psychopath. Yeah. There's like horror.
I love
horror
those videos.
trailers.
I love those
Yeah,
videos
those are
so
really
much.
cool. So this podcast is started because me and my brother
Mhm.
were like, yo, we need to spend time together.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that you don't get to spend time with your brother, we
Oh,
were talking
man.
about that. How much does that devastate you?
I miss it so much, man. I miss it. Like I
Right?
feel so like alone in terms of like when I'm watching a movie or like
Yeah.
listening to like discover a new piece of music and I want to share it. I just can't.
Yeah.
You know, like even if I do share it, there's that time difference. I don't get that.
Were you guys
know?
like close growing up together?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were. He's very like I was always a step behind him in terms of like, like what we listen to are like our interests. Like he was into Coldplay like a year earlier than I was, like he was into like he discovered Pratik and then I discovered Pratik.
It's so funny
like
because the same thing happens here.
yeah, exactly.
The
It's-
same
it's-
exact.
Music tastes get passed down
Yeah.
from your older siblings.
and it's funny because like he was really into fragrances before he left, like colognes and like perfumes and stuff. And
Yeah.
now I'm really into it, and
Yeah.
I just wish he was here.
Here to
because-
say, by the way, you smelled immaculate in the car.
oh, thank you.
It smells really good. I was like, bro, I wish the smell. I was gonna ask you what cologne you were wearing, but we talked about.
It's called the Fan Your Flames Nishane. It's,
Uh,
We're gonna
not
bleep that.
It's actually-
when they sponsor us.
Then
it's
we'll-
actually
yeah.
the Fan Your Flames is actually a quote from Rumi. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a very cool fragrance. It's got like a smoky, like firewoody type of smell.
It
It's
smells very nice. It
Yeah.
smells very nice. But
Yeah.
that's so cool. So you were talking about how you miss his presence around.
Yeah,
because
man.
I feel like once I get married and move out, this
Mhm.
guy's is
Uh,
gonna miss it. Like
you're gonna miss it. Trust me, you're gonna miss it. Like I definitely he's someone I look up to, right?
Yeah,
Like he was my like what do you call it? Like my guide into like
Yeah.
like certain creative
Genres
niches,
and
genres
all
and
that,
whatnot. And I'm a person who doesn't like to experiment much, and I take people's word for like their experiences. I believe them, and I like, you know what, like you experienced this, you've gone through it firsthand. I don't have to.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the one like I gotta try it too.
Yeah.
I'm not that risk taker. He is. So he did all that, and I basically took the best parts that he learned through, and he took the hard hitting.
Yeah.
moments,
That's what elder siblings.
Yeah, I think
tend to
that's
do.
the privilege
Yeah.
of a middle child.
It's
You
like
get to be-
you can see life from their point of view.
Yeah.
You can see the path that they took, and then you
Yeah.
can be like, okay, I will take that path, but will not make those mistakes.
Exactly.
Are you throwing shade right now?
And you're basically perfecting. You're basically
Yes,
perfecting
exactly.
the growth.
I just want to let everyone know that he just threw massive shade at me, and we will be having a conversation after this.
But yeah, man, I miss him a lot. I miss him. We connected a lot. We connect a lot to this day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just miss having him around.
What's the age difference between you and him?
2 years.
That's
Yeah.
the same thing here.
Yeah.
That's ideal. I got to wear a lot of his hand-down clothes.
Yeah.
And then we shared a room together.
Bro,
so,
me and him shared a room for 22 years.
like
Wow.
I tell my mom that I know him better than she knows him.
That's
and
true.
He like my mom knows him 9 months more than I know him.
Yeah.
Anybody knows him, right? So
And it's like insane because there will be times where like when you spend so much time with someone, you start developing the telepathic communication.
Yeah.
Like we will be in the same room,
Exactly.
far apart, talking to different people, and we
Yeah.
just look at each other and we know exactly
I love
what's
that.
going
I
on.
love that. Yeah.
And I think Hassan Minaj said like your like younger siblings' entire personalities are basically their older siblings.
I
And-
think you mentioned this in the Nice podcast.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
And then
Because
I caught it.
It relates so much, man. Like the thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I was on the John Mayer train in 2017.
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
comes
exactly,
On the I was on the
exactly.
Coldplay train. He comes
because
on the
there is that influence,
but
right?
I was on the Pratik train before you. And then
So there is always that, that back and forth. You're like collaborating and whatnot,
Yeah.
but there's always that, guidance, and you're taking something from the elder, and like,
What do you think Daim has learned from you?
oh, I don't know. Man.
He has to be. That's what I'm saying, man. I wish he was here. We would have had
I
like
wish-
a 4-way
yeah.
podcast right now. It would have been so much
If he
fun.
was here to say it, but I honestly, like, I don't know. I think he always compliments my my discipline,
Yeah.
my willingness to like take on new skills.
Mhm.
Like when I took up the piano, like he even says like it's not something he'd be able to do.
Yeah,
But like I feel it is something he'd be able to do, but he just has his time somewhere else.
yeah,
But I think he always respected that I was able to once I have my mind somewhere, I can actually take it on. And
Because that's a very, very powerful skill to have.
I agree, and that's something I talked about in the panel that I was in today.
You can talk about the panel you were in today.
Yeah, so I was at a professional development panel at ISNA Youth, and it was basically for cater to 14 to 18 year olds who are trying to break into unconventional careers that earn in STEM. So like design, marketing, software, tech, anything like that.
Yeah.
And I was just telling them about my experience and how I was able to teach myself design through YouTube. Like I started the presentation with like, I'm just gonna say here, YouTube is your best teacher.
Yes.
Like that's where I learned everything. And you have Google, you have information at your fingertips. And I'm a massive advocate of someone like, having that discipline and putting that time and consistent effort into learning something.
Yeah.
And slowly seeing those, the fruits of your labor.
Yep.
And that's something I really try to champion in my work.
Yeah.
And I have seen it, successful over and over and over. That's why I always return to it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person who likes to go and learn things his own way on his own time, in his own direction. And so like the best way I can learn something is if I have interest in it. And the only reason I learned piano was because I was practicing pieces that I liked. Not pieces that my tutor would be like suggesting like, yo, play this piece. I don't connect with it.
Yeah.
I connect with this Ludovico piece. Let me practice this. So I just printed sheet music and just started practicing that. And
So
that's
how long have you been playing piano for?
2017 April. So
And you're that good?
And so you said you print sheet music, which means that you can read sheet music.
Yeah. So I used to play trumpet in middle school.
Interesting choice
I
of
played
bass instrument.
Yeah, I played for 2 years. It's mostly because have you heard of the trumpet swan? It's like a old Disney movie. It's basically a trumpet, a swan that can play a trumpet.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That
cute.
is so cute.
I watched it as a kid. Like when I was new to Canada, and I really connected with it. So when I was in middle school, I'm like, I want to play the trumpet, and that was why. And I excelled in it. I was able to pick it up really quickly and easily, and then I joined my band, and then I was in band, and I was actually given like my band teacher and like music teacher trusted me enough to like give me my own solo in the trumpet, and
That's cool.
she wanted me to basically continue a career in trumpet with the trumpet with that or at least in music, because she saw that I had a lot of passion when it came to like just like playing music.
Yeah.
And she tried to get me to get enrolled into our a high school that was actually catered for arts and music. So like that's where like all the kids who were trying to be actors or like musicians, and they would go to. But it was like 20-minute drive away from my house. There was no bus. I'd rather go with the convenient route. I'd just stop. And my intention was to continue being in band in high school, but I got bullied so much, and I just didn't want to. Yeah, that's a whole different world. I don't even want to get into it.
No, because
I'm fine with getting into it, but like, yeah.
But like, because it's so weird. Because when we moved to Canada, we moved to Canada in 2012. I don't think we ever got bullied. Did you get bullied?
I think there's a lot of Desi kids.
Yeah,
we
you weren't in
our
Kitchener.
school.
We
weren't
weren't
in
in
Kitchener.
Kitchener. We were in Pickering.
Yeah, I was a
quite
minority.
diverse.
With the name that's not
Oh,
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna,
friendly.
because we had another guest on the pod whose name was also
Yeah.
Osama, and I had to ask, when did you move to Canada?
2004 when I was 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you still saw the after effects of living with how difficult is that to this day?
It was life changing. Like I am the person I am because of those experiences.
Yeah.
I am more sheltered. I'm more like to myself. I don't like to open up to people unless I can trust them fully.
Yeah.
Like it's still affecting me to this day. My introverted personality is because of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it didn't stop. It was like all throughout like grade school, middle school, high school, very much in high school.
Yeah, high school was like probably the peak.
Definitely the peak. And then I got into university, and people were more open-minded and accepting, and I found my own crowd. And that's when I realized like, hey, I don't have to face this because I have my own time. I'm not forced to like be here forever.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
nobody has to get to know me really well. So that kind of like helped me stray away and like build my own personality from there.
Yeah.
But it was a difficult process. I did talk about it with a couple. I talk about it a lot with my friends and just folks I'm getting to know. I was extensively bullied, and it was just like it was very much formative.
Did you ever think of maybe changing your name or maybe going with a nickname?
I did. My mom wanted me to change my name.
Really?
And I just didn't want the hassle, honestly.
Paperwork.
Exactly. But not just that. Like slowly, like I started actually liking my name. Because there was a time I hated it.
Yeah.
And that would probably be in middle school.
Mhm.
And that's probably when I was my most sensitive and my most like, I don't know, vulnerable.
Yeah.
And innocence. It wasn't until like in high school I became more protective over it because.
Yeah.
I started like appreciating like like why do they hate me so much? There's
It's a
a
beautiful
reason,
name,
right?
man.
And I just like I hold it dear. If it affects you like that, I'm just gonna keep it to myself stronger, right? Like
Yeah, 100%, man.
so that was a goal, and it there were positives out of it. I guess like you don't want that, you know. It's a negative experience, but I've always been a person to like see a better light from your negative experiences.
Yeah.
So I was able to.
I guess it makes you like a little bit more of an optimist, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
this can't be it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This can't be it.
Yeah, like you learn a lot about the nature of people,
Yeah.
and
Oh, true
very
about that.
early on, right? Like you're able to understand like not everybody's gonna like you,
Yeah.
and that if the earlier you learn that, I think the better you're off in life, and the better you can be prepared for. And I guess that in itself was I don't know, a shining
Blessing in disguise,
yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
That's so interesting because when we moved to Canada, there was a lot of like brown people in our
Mhm.
school. Like we had a thriving MSA, a
Yeah.
thriving PSA.
Yeah,
We were like,
wow.
I started a cricket team.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like,
I didn't even have
that.
an MSA. Like my MSA, like the first time I heard of an MSA was at uni. I was like, whoa. Like there's
Wow,
actually
really?
a club for
We had
Muslims.
like a whole mist thing going on in our
That's so
university, in our
sick.
high school.
That's
Like
so
it
sick.
was very nice, and we had a lot of like one of my closest friends that I met in high school was also someone who had recently moved from Karachi to
Yeah.
Canada. So there was a lot of that going on,
Mhm.
and so yeah, I never had that
Yeah.
experience. but
Attendance time, the worst. Every time, like the first class, like
Yeah.
Usama, heads turn always, like, and
Which
I'm like,
one-
here we
which
go again. There've been times where I've been like, like I've actually like been in a fight, or just trying to defend myself,
Yeah.
or like I get so angry that I go physical, and that in itself was a learning moment, as a teaching moment as
Yeah.
well. Like I was able to take something out of it. I'm like, I can't let myself get rattled like this.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
have to be able to have control in my emotions.
yeah.
And I guess that was also another silver lining. And
I mean, a lot of like we got extensively bullied in Pakistan though, which is very
really?
interesting. Yeah.
How
Because
come?
okay, so well, we moved to Karachi when I was 9, you were 7, and we had moved from the States,
Oh,
so we only knew
okay.
English.
Okay, okay.
And when you come to Karachi, which is a predominantly
Mhm.
Urdu speaking town, people get really threatened really quickly,
yeah.
and there's a lot of that.
Mhm, I see, I
But
see.
then we lived in a very middle class society, and it wasn't really like high end
Yeah.
defense Clifton type. So it was a lot of that, like, oh, you live in like Johar, what the hell's that? And like,
But I think
there's a whole
like,
class divide
yeah,
in
yeah.
the whole
Karachi.
concept of bullying itself in Pakistan is so prevalent that people
Yeah.
don't even realize it.
Yeah,
And you would get bullied for the
It's
like
natural.
the
It's
most
natural.
lamest things. If you're fat, you get bullied. If you're too
Yeah.
thin, you get bullied.
Of
If you're too short, you get bullied.
Oh,
if you're,
trust me.
your skin color.
I get bullied by my family in Pakistan. Like,
Yeah.
it's the way of life,
Yeah.
like you're kamzor, like you're not eating enough.
Yeah.
It's big, like you're too short or skinny. Like that's the go-to,
Yeah, I was very thin. I was very, very
Yeah.
skinny.
Mhm.
So they used to call me Tili.
Yeah, it still
And I
gets
was
to
like,
me to this day because I'm like, it's just how I am. It's
Yeah,
just be accept me. But
Yeah,
at the
it's-
same
it's-
time,
I think-
Dime's like he knows when I'm really like rattled and I need that space. Because when I go back home, I need to be mentally prepared for all those comments.
For all
Yeah.
of that criticism.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
getting ready for that right now.
Yeah.
Whenever I go back, I'll be like, what? The hair thing is the
Yeah.
worst.
Really?
Immediately they're like, yo, what happened to your hair? Like, you're losing hair, man. I'm like, bro,
Ganja,
yes, that's what I get. And I'm like, okay. And then they go,
Just embrace it. Just
it
embrace
starts from your head all the way to your tummy.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're like, you're just, get the fuck out of here. You're
Don't
short.
kill me.
Get out of here.
That's hilarious.
I was like, what do you want? What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But I guess I guess again, like you said, it was formative in the sense that we developed a lot of thick skin.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was ready to get bullied here.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, life is not High School Musical.
Exactly.
But that's also what our perception was of like life in Canada or like high school in general.
Ah.
Like the first day that we went to high school, we are like,
Yeah.
why aren't people dancing here? Like, where's the music at?
That's true. That's true. I'm
It's
ashamed
all
of that.
Yeah.
You got bamboozled.
I'm very ashamed of that, but there's truth to it.
That's
Where it
hilarious.
was like, okay, where's the Zac Efron character? Which is funny, which is hilarious actually, because we did have someone like we had Shawn Mendes in our school,
Oh,
and we were like, well, this is Zac Efron. Like,
That's
this is the
sick.
guy. This
That's
is the
But
guy. that
nobody's going
everybody-
after him. Like, what's
yeah, like
what's
why
up
is
with that?
nobody?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't girls not surrounding him? And
Yeah.
like people went their extra mile to not give a shit about
yeah.
Shawn, and I was like, do you know who this is gonna
Yeah,
become?
exactly.
Like, what is wrong?
I
with
think
you?
it's just like more like they know him and it's like an everyday thing. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
That's why. But it's not until like they actually become someone that it hits. you know?
Our high school. Experience
How
was
do
so
you
weird.
still hold on to your Pakistani roots? Are you still into the Pakistani music?
Mhm.
Do you still listen
yeah,
to a lot of it?
I genuinely like love Pakistani music and Urdu music and poetry and just culture and overall like food
Oh
is
yeah,
our number one.
we had a whole fight about
Yeah.
Lahore versus Karachi food right now.
Yeah. No, Daim and I are really into like Coke Studio. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
that's a beautiful, beautiful music. But also like, like artists like Ali Sethi or like Rahat
Mm.
Fateh Ali Khan.
Mm.
They're like they're masterminds in
Yeah.
their work, and I love their work. And there's actually like really, really cool emerging artists in our generation that are
Mm.
actually doing amazing. I blank on his name because his Instagram always like confuses me. Do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But he's basically like he plays a harmonium, and he's very nicely vocally trained. And I found him on Clubhouse.
Wow.
And,
Clubhouse, is it still thriving? I mean, the initial days were really
He
fun.
made me get an iPhone just so I could download Clubhouse.
yeah.
That's not true.
No, so his name is Khamis,
Okay.
and he has the most beautiful voice,
Mm.
and he's very learned in the art of like I don't know Qawwali.
Yeah, sure.
And he has so much skill in
Yeah.
it, but he's also so young.
Yeah.
Like he's your age,
Mhm.
and he's doing that. You have no idea, like, because you see this stuff coming out of people that are like 40, 50 years old.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they're old. They're like already have been in that career, but he's in our generation. He's someone that looks like you and me,
Yeah.
and that sounds like that. It's just beautiful.
So what I wanted to ask was, how do you deal with, if you deal with it at all, with the imposter syndrome? Is that something that occurs into your cranium at all, or is this?
Yeah,
Because that's something I've been dealing with recently.
right now I'm dealing with it with the new job.
Okay.
It's been my first week, and they're giving me a lot of responsibility, and I've never had that before. And I do feel like they're too trusting of me, or maybe like they're thinking of me much more skilled than I really am.
Mm-hmm.
But
That happens when you lie on your resume.
Yeah, that does.
exactly.
I am proficient in Excel. I don't even know how to do a VLOOKUP.
I hope they're not.
No,
listening.
we'll cut it out. We'll cut it out.
but yeah, it is also a natural feeling.
Yeah.
You're always gonna feel that wherever you go, and I learned that early on in my extracurricular work when I'm volunteering as a graphic designer. I'm learning and being open to new ways to go about something.
Mhm.
Even though you may feel like an imposter, you're being molded into the person that they see you as, or they want you to be as.
Yeah.
So as a self-learner, as someone who teaches himself everything, even though like I may not know like how to do something, I'm gonna go out and find a way to
Yeah.
actually learn how to do it. That's like a very terrible paraphrasing of Will Smith's.
It's a very
Will
inspiring.
Smith's
I was
quote from
gonna say that's
Pursuit
what
of
he says in
Happiness.
the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what. If I don't know the answer, I'm
I'ma
gonna tell
go
you
get
I don't
it.
know. And I'm gonna go out there and find it for you.
Basically,
Can you tell
I,
he loves that movie?
I used that line in a job interview, and I got the job once.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it works. But Will
I
Smith
legit
works.
like I was looking at the interview before I went for my interview, and I was like, I'm gonna use this line, and it worked.
What if they caught you? Like, that's Will Smith. That's not you.
No, they wouldn't have caught me. I know they hadn't seen the movie.
Not closer enough.
Yeah.
Like with me currently, like I'm struggling with the whole imposter syndrome thing. Like every time my book comes out, like this is my second
I
collection,
see. Yeah.
and like people, like a lot of people that I meet, like out of
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, Twitter realm. So there's a perception of you on the internet, which is probably 85 to 90% skewed. Like
Yeah.
that's not who you really are.
Mhm.
So like his friends met me, and his friends were like, "Wait, I thought you were like this really pretentious writer person who only talks in metaphors, who only like spits out
Yeah.
poetry, but you're like chill. What's up with that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like
They
I
already
can do
had like a
both.
persona up in their mind, you know, because
and
I
that's
blame
the
Rupee
thing.
Core. I blame Rupee Core. I get that a lot too. Like when people like meet me for the first time, they think I'm like this like crazy, like you know, like I don't know, very wise dude. But I'm actually like a fool. Like I act like a fool sometimes. You know, like I have like some crazy energy sometimes,
Yeah,
and they're like, where the hell does this come from? Like I did not expect this from like
yeah,
this personality from someone whose work is so like peaceful.
yeah.
Like I have like like a whole opposite vibe, and I get that too. Like
That's what I was
I
wondering. To
relate
ask.
to
How do you
that.
deal with that then? Like,
I
is
honestly
it
like I embrace it.
you
Honestly,
embrace it?
yeah,
Okay.
I
Is it
love.
like having two personalities, like one for your online
Yeah.
followers and then one in real life?
Mm,
I don't know, man.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say
No.
that because that is myself too,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Like that is like myself to a certain extent, but I'm more open in person.
Mm-hmm.
So like online, I'm very closed off, and it's just me and my thoughts. Whereas in person, it's also my body language, and it's also my like just like the jokes. I would say is I'm not
Yeah.
writing a caption. I can actually put a joke in or like
Yeah,
put a
yeah,
reference
yeah.
a movie, that type of thing, right?
Yeah,
And
so
that's most of my personality, referencing movies.
right now, yeah, same. And TV shows like
Yeah.
The Office was like 95% of my personality in
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
Like that's all I had.
Agreed.
But like that's something that I'm gonna be dealing with a lot when I go to Karachi. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, I'm going for like a mini book tour, and it's
Mhm.
like, how do I manage the whole writer persona
Mhm.
versus who I really am? Because that is a part of me as well.
Go with who you really are, because
Yeah.
that is also part of your writing persona, right?
Yeah,
If you're just gonna be your writing persona, you're blocking something
yeah.
very essential
I-
from
yeah.
that
I don't
audience.
think if anyone's ever seen like one episode of our podcast, they know that like that's
Yeah,
not me.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
like,
I think that just
crying.
shows. I think that just shows who listens and who doesn't.
That's true.
Watching y'all.
And it's like we're like the type of people that would be like crying when the
Yeah.
cricket match happens. And,
Yeah.
we're also the type of people that like might be like quoting, I don't know, like not Rupi Kaur, but like
Mhm.
Rumi
Yeah.
or someone like that.
Yeah,
on
exactly,
Instagram. Like,
exactly.
it's a double-edged sword.
What
right?
you seek is seeking you.
There we go.
I love that.
Like okay, so we've held you for like a long time now, and I don't want to keep you waiting because we
Nah,
do
bro,
have
I
a
got
long drive back.
all the time in
But
the world.
is yeah, because you're home alone now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But is there anything that you would like to tell people about your art that they probably don't understand or they probably misconstrue, or just to let them know what they might be misreading?
I'm not original. That is my main thing. A lot of people think that I come up with my own ideas. Like
Yeah.
I'm generally not an original artist. A lot of my process and it's an ongoing learning process. I talked to you about this in the car.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna finish learning something because I always want education to be a main part of my life.
Mhm.
And when I talk about education, the best way I can learn something is being inspired by a medium or trying to copy someone's style and trying to figure out how they got to this point, and then trying to put my own twist to it,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of majority of my work is taken from other artists, and I put my own twist to it.
Yeah.
If you see my art imitates art series, I basically took exhibits from the art gallery of Ontario and like museums I went to. They're pictures. I took pictures of like a statue or like a photograph at the gallery, and I would basically paint over it and just mess with it until like I was satisfied with the vision that I had for it or what I felt with it when I saw the picture. And I think J. Cole expands on this as well.
There we go.
He's a very like he's a very like let artists build upon each other. Like
Yeah.
he's a believer in collaboration. He doesn't believe in like like even if like one's work is one's work, they shouldn't like keep it to themselves. They should let it out in the world and let others build upon it.
Yeah.
So when I
agree.
see someone like try to copy my work, I'm very much for it.
Yeah.
Like because that they're learning too. They're trying to figure out how I did what I did.
Yeah.
And it's just a collaborative process. And I feel like a lot of people get too like ticked off when someone copies their work, or like I feel like it's more of a praise than it is anything
Imitation
else.
is a form of compliment.
Exactly. And I mean, sure, like putting your exact work is a whole different
Yeah,
story.
Plagiarism is not though.
Exactly, but when it's inspired, that's just you did that, you know.
can tell, yeah.
So I just think don't be afraid to like take something that already exists and build upon it,
Yeah,
because that's the only way that I learned. That's originally the way I learned, because
Yeah.
when you're looking at 8-year-old Osama in his bedroom, he was tracing pictures from mangas. He was even drawing like actual original drawings.
yeah,
You'd get a piece of paper, put it like a phone light or like a lamp, and then put another one, and just writing. And that taught me, how lines worked, because the tracing in itself taught me like how to create faces and eyes, build that muscle memory in illustration. So there was a lot I took from it, and there was it was that surely that wasn't the intention at the time.
yeah.
I just wanted to be make something and like act like I did it. But alhamdulillah, like I was able to learn a lot from it, and I realized that early on, and I took it to wherever I wanted to learn something.
Yeah. Art is never stolen, only borrowed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love how you have that growth mindset where you're all constantly looking to like learn things.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody out there who's like looking to start up a new skill, like learn the guitar, play the piano, learn how to read sheet music, what advice would you give to them? Because you also touched base upon how mentally focused and disciplined you are. How does somebody go about building that?
That's how you know he's so much of a corporate slave. He said touch base.
Touch base.
I want to vomit.
That business jargon, you know.
Actually want to vomit right now.
I'm
but please
crying.
continue.
That's
Put a pit
funny.
on this for now.
Honestly, I would say don't be too hard on yourself. You love this interest, and you're seeking the education because you love it, right? And if you lose it because you don't see yourself growing in it, then you lost the plot, right? Be comfortable in the learning process. And when I was learning piano, I stuck to pieces that I was really familiar with. Or my first piece I learned was from a really small track from the movie called Soul Surfer. Great movie, by the way, very underrated. The soundtrack is beautiful, and the piano in that track that I was able to learn was very simple, but it sounded beautiful. I was connected with it, even though it was like a very like easy track to learn. That began my journey. That just learning that was a sense of accomplishment, and that kind of pushed me even more to like seek more, maybe slightly more challenging pieces. And I was once I grasped those, I was like, oh, I didn't know I could get to this point, but here I am. And that it's just self motivation, Once you're able to see those those checkpoints and like acknowledge them, I think then you're basically on your way on autopilot. But
That's great.
as long as you hit that first growth,
Yeah.
it should be sustainable. Yeah. But the thing is, you got to stay comfortable.
Osama, thank you very much for taking your time out.
Of course.
This is a long time coming. Like I messaged him before I messaged Daim to come on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This was like pre-pandemic, and then like the pandemic happened, and then everything shut down.
And
But
then you went online.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, then we went online, and I'm really grateful that you came. This was a
Yeah.
wonderful conversation, and we're probably gonna have another one when we drive back.
Definitely. Definitely.
But again, thank you for your time.
This was actually
and-
great. I genuinely enjoyed this as
Yeah.
my first podcast. But
Yeah, and I hope you come back.
Definitely.
I
Yeah,
hope
I'm always
that
open.
this will
Whenever
be returning.
Daim's back, we'll have
Oh,
like a
we should-
brother on
we should
brother
definitely
podcast.
We should definitely.
That would be
We
dope.
should have a 2-on-2 4-person podcast, and like let's see where it goes. Like
That'd be
complete
great.
mayhem, or
I love
complete
that.
chaos. I would love that too. Thank you for your time, and
No
we
worries.
hope that you come back.
Inshallah.
Where can people find you if you want to plug yourself real quick?
Osama Lama. Or my website, OsamaKhalid.com. So,
Yeah, everything is gonna be in the description, so
Awesome.
people can check that out.
Perfect.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.